And welcome to the podcast. This is Ben Wolf from Wolf's Edge Integrators, the official podcast of Wolf's Edge Integrators. I am very excited to be talking about Entrepreneurial Leap today. Taking the Entrepreneurial Leap, the organization, the Entrepreneurial Leap, ELA, Entrepreneurial Leap Academy. I want to really get into this topic today with our guest, whose name is Ryan Henry. He is an expert EOS implementer and the co-founder with its creator Gino Wickman and visionary and my guest today Ryan is a visionary of ELAP Academy or ELAP. Welcome, Ryan.
It's great to see you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
No, my pleasure. It'll be good to. There's like a lot of stuff I want to dive into, and there's some interesting nuances in it. And I think people who are in this entrepreneurial world themselves and have founded businesses, even if they're very small at this point, are going to find this very interesting. And before we get into that, can you give us like a quick? And I know you've been on the podcast before, and so we're talking about a different
Sure.
topic today. But if you could like remind the audience, kind of like 1 or 2 minute background on yourself, where you came from, how you got to be talking about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, so I'll just go back to the inflection point of where Gino Wickman intersected in my life. I was 3 years into my own entrepreneurial pursuit and had a business partner, and we had a construction management real estate development firm. We were 3 years in, started in '05, and in late '08, in the height peak of the recession, very scary times. My accountant, who was implementing EOS in his accounting firm with Don Tinney, co-founder and second implementer, and Gino's integrator in the beginning of EOS Worldwide, he was their implementer. And Jeff always came quarterly to our office. He was a mentor of mine. He helped navigate us, and he'd always bring a book. And he brought in Q4 Traction, which was self-published at the time. And this passionate man was like, "You've got to read this book." And so that's the inflection point. That was 17 years ago, this Q4. So that's pretty wild. And we started implementing EOS. And I sold my company in an EOS session to my partner in 2018. And my implementer, Eric Perkins, afterwards said, "Well, that was a big deal. Do you want to go grab a beer?" And we grabbed a beer, and he said, "You should be an EOS implementer." And I thought, well, I love this, and I love helping entrepreneurs. And so I decided to become an EOS implementer, and I've been an EOS implementer since Q4 of 2018. And of course, now I'm an expert EOS implementer and all that kind of good stuff, and I love doing it. And
I don't know if it feels weird to say that. But
it
that
just
means
means
you've
I spent
done.
a
That means you've
lot
done
of
over
time in
500.
this. Yeah, it just means I spent a lot of time in this session room, over 500 sessions with entrepreneurs and their leadership teams. Yeah. So that's how my EOS journey started. ELEAP came in. I became an implementer in late 18. Gino wrote the book in 19, and I remember listening to him at what we call a quarterly collaborative exchange. It's just where EOS implementers get together and do exactly that, collaboratively exchange their ideas and issues and help each other. And he said, "I wrote this book for entrepreneurs in the making." And right then, right there, I went, "That's exactly what I needed. That's exactly what my father, who was an entrepreneur, needed. That's exactly what my brother, who's an entrepreneur, needed. Oh my goodness, that's exactly what my grandfather needed to know with clarity, to confirm that they're an entrepreneur, to see the path, heaven or hell, the dream or the nightmare, and to understand that there's a path towards increasing your odds of success because the odds are against you, and to build the life and business of your dream." And I went, "That's what I wanted." I had implemented EOS, but because of what happened in the recession, we went into what's non-target market as a construction company. We went down to less than 10 people. Target market for EOS implementation is 10 to 250 person companies. Well, when I started my EOS journey, we had done a backwards accountability chart, right? Because of the recession, and we had less than 10. And I had ran business incubators and owned a business incubator. And so those first years of implementing EOS were phenomenal, but I knew that there was an ethos, a wisdom and mastery set from this man, Gino Wickman, that was transforming my life and business that I was seeking. Well, I found it 10 years later in ELAP. Not only that, I went, wait a minute, this isn't just for entrepreneurs in the making. This is for early stage entrepreneurs with less than 10 people. This is almost a program. And so I approached Gino that day and said, hey, this isn't just for early or entrepreneurs in the making. This is for early stage entrepreneurs. And we should make an academy on this. And he was like, brother, you can do anything you want with the content. I'm not going to create another company, but do whatever you want. And I went, okay, well, clearly somebody else is going to do this. I'm a new implementer. Somebody's smart enough, and somebody will do this. Well, years went by, nobody did. And I kept mentoring entrepreneurs and getting them the ELAP book and started helping them. And well, then Gino and I got on the same page and decided to start not only ELAP to help entrepreneurs in the making, which is still our passion, is to help entrepreneurs build a life and business of their dreams by lighting the path towards entrepreneurial mastery. But we've actually taken the path for those early stages and giving entrepreneurs exactly what they need. Early stage entrepreneurs. That just means they've taken their leap, they're generating cash, they have less than 10 people. And so the Entrepreneurial Leap Academy is what emerged from that, the 7-month academy that helps early stage entrepreneurs clarify their focus. Because if you're a visionary, you got all kinds of things coming at you, shiny objects. So we help them stay focused, avoiding 8 critical mistakes that most entrepreneurs make, applying 8 must-dos to greatly increase those odds of success, and being aware of the 9 stages. And stage 2, Ben, is an integrator. We'll talk about that in a minute. And helping them gain that clarity so they know how to become a successful entrepreneur. Just like Gino wrote How to Become a Great Boss, this is how to become a successful entrepreneur, so they actually know how to do it. On top of that, we help these entrepreneurs have absolute not only clarity, but confidence that they can be a successful entrepreneur. And I know the head trash in this space is real. This is hard. It's really hard. And so we help them see, if you have these 6 essential traits, you're a visionary, passionate, problem-solving, driven, risk-taking, responsible human. If you have those characteristics, you are an entrepreneur and you have the ingredients to become successful. But we know most entrepreneurs aren't successful. So how do they have confidence in becoming successful? What's mastery? Lifelong mastery of those 6 essential traits. Of course, it shows up a million different ways, but it shows up clearly in your integrator, operating on an operating system, EOS, helping you live that EOS life, and then maximizing and managing that entrepreneur energy with the 10 disciplines. Of course, that's the path of Gino's entrepreneur mastery and his 5 pieces of content. So confidence. And then lastly, community. So most entrepreneurs, let's just face it, feel isolated and alone. And you and I know there's a collaborative community out there. This EO and EOS and strategic coach world of mentoring and operating and peer groups that every entrepreneur needs. Every entrepreneur needs a mentor. And Gino says, Dan Sullivan's my mentor. Every entrepreneur needs an operating system. Well, there's EOS. And every entrepreneur needs a peer group. Well, Gino's was EO. There's others as well. But most entrepreneurs at this stage can't get into those places. They're not making $200,000, so strategic coaching for them. They don't have 10 people, so EOS isn't right from them yet. And EO, they're not making $1 million. So they're on the outside looking in. And we just don't feel like that's right. We're better together. So we're just like them. So Gino calls us people from the future. We just go back in the form of mentors and go, hey, welcome. You're just like us. And so ELA gives them those 3 things. I teach the classes. I show up in the form of a mentor. And I help do what Kelly Knight, our integrator at EOS Worldwide, calls pre-EOS. ELA is visionary focused. That is our target demographic. And as goes the visionary, so goes the leadership team. And all my EOS people out there, as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the company. And so we start with the visionary. So we give EOS people better visionaries with that. So that's what ELA is all about. 7 months helping them gain clarity, confidence, and community. Maybe a little bit more than my story, but our passion is really simple. It comes from pain. And my pain in this is really, really clear. Is as an early stage entrepreneur and entrepreneur in the making, I didn't have mentorship. I had entrepreneurs all around me, but nobody I didn't understand the connection and the power of a mentor. A mentor is a speed pass. Gino had it. I didn't. Gino had a peer group. I didn't. Gino had an operating system. I didn't. And so my passion comes from the pain and the suffering of not having those things. And so that's what emerged out of me, and that's what created ELA and ELEAP. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context on all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I certainly appreciate it. Now, you already answered my first four questions after that, so I appreciate
Sure.
it. So a little clarification on a couple of those
Yeah.
points, I
Yeah,
guess,
for
is
sure. Of
sort of
course.
combining a few of the things I was going to ask about, which you already answered, but I want to put a fine point on painting a picture of like of what is the difference, like a little clear from the entrepreneur in the making, which I think you
Mm-hmm.
said the definition, right? Is I think you said making revenue. I can't remember all the things you said, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
difference,
I
the
can boil
line
that down
between
for
the
you.
entrepreneur in the making and the line between where somebody's sort of like ELEAP Academy maybe would not be enough, ELA might not be enough, and they need something like an operating system, on a
Yep.
more fulsome basis. Could you talk a little bit about those two dividing lines on one end and on the
Absolutely.
other?
Yeah. And so when you think about ELEAP, our target demographic is the entrepreneur. And what we're doing is categorizing the entrepreneur in two different stages. First is the entrepreneur in the making. And so an entrepreneur in the making is somebody who has the six essential traits of an entrepreneur. They're a visionary. They got lots of ideas. They see around corners. They have the sixth sense, this visionary. That's that trait. They're passionate. They're passionate about their product, their service to the world, and it usually comes from a place of pain, but they're very passionate about it. They're great problem solvers. They just love to lean in and solve problems. They have that characteristic. As entrepreneurs, they have to do that, about 6 to 12 problems a day. So you got to have that characteristic to do that. On top of that, the fourth characteristic will be a driven. If you think about an entrepreneur, they're a driven individual. They're a focused individual. They know what they want and they go after it without asking for permission, and they pursue it until they achieve it, just to strive. Fire that burns inside of them. They're risk takers. Some are a little wilder on the risk taker, and some are a little more calculated on the risk taker. If you look between you and me, I might be the little more wild one, and you might be a little more calculated. I had to learn to be more calculated myself, but risk taker, they'll take the risk. They're willing to bet on themselves. And then responsible. Responsible just means they don't blame anybody. They take full responsibility for everything that happens. And so if you have those six essential traits, but you haven't started a business, you are an entrepreneur in the making. That's who you are. And so there, a lot of entrepreneurs, they think something's wrong with them, you know. And so there's nothing wrong with you if this is who you are. Just know thyself and be free. Or like Gino says, let your free flag fly. So that's an entrepreneur in the making. And what we have for an entrepreneur in the
And that's
making is a process.
pre-ELEAP, right? That's the book, or that's
That's
pre-ELEAP,
pre starting a business.
right?
That's not
Or
pre ELEAP.
pre-ELEAP
It's just
Academy, I should
pre.
say.
Well, it's not even. Yeah, it's just pre starting a business. That's what that is. And for an entrepreneur in the making, we have a 1, 2, 3 process. And so one is take the entrepreneur in the making assessment and confirm that you are an entrepreneur. 2, understand the right business for you, the My Business Match tool, industry, type, and size. Not every entrepreneur is built to build every business. So understand yourself, know thyself. And then third, clarify your vision. So we have a My Vision clarifier that's all about your passion, because passion is the number one reason you're going to succeed, your client's needs, your ideal client, your pricing structure, because most entrepreneurs don't price themselves correctly, which is not an economic issue, it's a psychological issue. 10-year, 3-year, 1-year, 90, which for EOS people, that sounds very similar. Right. So this is Gino's wisdom and mastery applied for the early stage entrepreneur and the entrepreneur in the making. But entrepreneurs in the making, there you go. That's going to help you understand the path that's ahead of you, clarifying your vision. So that's what we do for entrepreneurs in the making. And we have 5 different free front-end tools. We have a talk and a mentor track in the book and all kinds of different things for entrepreneurs who have a passion of helping other entrepreneurs. Once an entrepreneur takes that leap and starts a business, they're now called an early stage entrepreneur. Early stage entrepreneur is someone who has the 6 essential traits, has started a business, has less than 10 people. That's an early stage entrepreneur. So an early stage entrepreneur is a target demographic for the Entrepreneurial Leap Academy. And so that's what the Academy is for, is to give them a speed pass to their future. And we're sending them off towards our friends at Strategic Coach, our friends at EOS, and our friends in the peer group worlds. And of course, Gino's the ZO. So
Yeah.
that's our path, and that's what we're about.
And of course, I know you in the EOS world, but I also know you from sharing a few sessions in Strategic Coach together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's interesting. One of the people I'm thinking of as you paint this picture of this entrepreneur in the making or of the ELA target market is one person that I introduced to you a couple months ago. And she was interesting because she still had a job. She was
Mm-hmm.
still a W-2 employee, but
Right.
yet she had launched, I think, at least two businesses already that were making some money, and she had a few little helpers.
Yeah.
And it was just so underwater. And we just talked about focus. Like I think I did 90 minutes with her just because that's where the conversation went, and it was just
For
like,
sure.
not ready for us as a, fractional integrator firm or fractional COO firm, and anyway, but it just seemed like a good fit for, so I was, sent them to you guys. But she would be an early stage entrepreneur, even though she has a job, because she did she did have a business and it is making money. So like,
Absolutely.
there's a
Yeah,
business
that's
there, not enough to live on, but like, it's a business, or it was a couple of businesses in her case. So that's
yeah,
someone who has taken the leap, right?
they have. They haven't burned the boats yet. So I'll give you a
Right.
peer into the academy and the entrepreneurs that are there. And so it's not an age thing. This is not about a young person, although they can be. We have 18-year-old people in the academy. This is a stage thing. This just means you have less than 10 people. And so how do you apply this wisdom and mastery that Gino has for entrepreneurs to you at this stage? That's what ELA is about. So we have 55-year-old, 45-year-old, 36-year-old, 18-year-old, 29-year-old, all across the spectrum. It's just like EOS, it's industry agnostic. And so my son, Caleb, who started his own um, sports physical training program online, is in the academy. Well, he started it pre-cash, and now he's starting to generate cash because he's clarified his vision and what he wants to do and who he wants to focus on and what his price point is, which is
Nice.
very exciting for me because he's not for college. One of the things we teach in ELEAP is, are you for college or not? He was not for college. So he's still
Right.
living
That's
with
an
us, and
important
he has a
clarification. I'm glad there's people
yes.
normalizing that because
Oh, for
it's
sure.
so
Like
important.
my son is wicked smart, but college is not for him. He hated modern modality of learning because he learns fast and he learns the way he wants to learn. But nonetheless, we do have 18-year-olds in there that are starting their business pre-cash. And we had somebody that was working another job, started their business, got enough cash generated, and did what we call burning the boats. So she left her job and she's all in now on her business. And of course, having the community to support her and the confidence that she is an entrepreneur and the pricing to put it in the right place helped her do that. And so
Right.
that's really great. Of course, that's all about increasing the odds of success.
Right.
So yeah, man.
That's great. I know one of the things that you guys teach, and you mentioned it before, was where the teaching about an integrator or number two leader fits in to the
Yeah.
ELEAP curriculum. Like, what does that look like? What do you teach, high level at least,
Yeah.
about an integrator or number two leader?
Yeah, and so in the 9 stages of building the life and business of your dreams, stage number one is generate cash. Like you got to get out there and generate cash. And you got these entrepreneurs that talk about their
Progress, not
website
perfection.
and they're
Like,
doing all
don't.
this stuff, and we're like, you got to get out there and serve your ideal client, provide value, and get them to cut you checks because otherwise you don't have a business. So once you start doing that and you're generating cash, stage two is hire an integrator. And so part of the air clearing that I'm doing in the academy is, you can hire an integrator as your first hire. You can hire an
I want to,
integrator
and I want to dive into this
now.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I see so many entrepreneurs and visionaries, right? We talk visionary integrator. A visionary is just an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is just visionary. It's just synonymous. But we see so many entrepreneur visionaries out there think that hiring an integrator is like, finding Sasquatch or getting struck by lightning. It's like this mythical thing that can maybe happen in the future when they have a successful business. But the reality is that most entrepreneurs don't have a successful business because of them. They're the issue. They got to get out of the way. They're great leaders. They have these amazing leadership abilities. They have these amazing leadership practices. When you think about the 5 leadership abilities and practices that we teach in the U.S., they're just amazing at that, but they're terrible at managing people. And so they just create absolute chaos. And they don't have focus typically for their strategy. So vision, they got plenty of vision. There's no traction. Of course, that's hallucination. And they have opportunity, but there's no structure. And so that's chaos. That's Keith Cunningham. Opportunity without structure is chaos. And Gino says vision without traction is hallucination. So how do you kill an entrepreneur who's hallucinogenic and chaotic? Integrator. And so we see these entrepreneurs going, wait a minute, I can hire an integrator right now? Oh, that's why I need to hire an integrator right now. It helps me stay in my personal sweet spot. It helps me stick with the range of entrepreneur and the type of visionary spectrum I am. And it helps me understand how to get some of the growth desires. Because most of these entrepreneurs, they must get an integrator. It's the only way they're going to become successful. And so we just cleared that air. We see these entrepreneurs hiring integrators way ahead of the time frame they thought they were ever going to, and thus increasing their odds of success exponentially.
Yeah. Obviously, we understand the power of that
Absolutely.
of that integrator.
Yeah.
And it is blowing my mind a little bit when you talk about like first hire, because I guess as there are, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about today also, and that we always talk about at Wolf's Edge, which is the different types of integrators, right? There's not one type, and there's not one type that's right for every business in the stage of wherever they are in their evolution, or every visionary,
Absolutely.
every founder, wherever they are in their evolution. And paint a picture of, let's say, one of these typical ELAP participants who are launched, and they're at some point in the process with you guys in the ELAP Academy, ELA, and they're like an ideal candidate for integrator as their first hire. Paint a picture of that. Like,
So
with it, maybe
I
with
just
an
want to
example or something concrete.
Hiring an integrator might not be their right first hire. Just want to clear that air. But I want to say it provocatively because it might be their right first hire, and most of them never think it could be. And so, first and foremost, in the academy, one of the questions is, I know when it's time to hire my integrator. And it could have been 6 months ago.
Not that it is the time necessarily, but I'll know what the milestone is.
Yeah, that's right. It could have been 6 months ago, which means you need to do it now. It could be now, like you're aware of it now. It could be in 6 months. It could be in 6 years, but I was kind of wink about that. Could be. Now, look, there's all kinds of factors. First and foremost, are you a visionary of the 1 in 20 that can also play the role of integrator? Because if you're one of those 1 in 20 visionaries that can also play the role of integrator, it might be the healthy and smart strategy and structure for you to not hire your integrator, but hire your salesperson or your marketing person or your operations person or your finance person. Those are the typical seats that an entrepreneur is sitting in when they start their business. Of course, you let go of the ones you like and love the least first, so that you can ultimately get to your personal sweet spot and stay in your personal sweet spot, which is stage 7 of the stages of growth. But I think when you think about the integrator, and I know you have 3 types of integrators, and I want you to think about that, and that's a puzzle piece fit. You also have the entrepreneur that has a puzzle piece fit. And I thought a lot about this, and it's coming out of me. I don't know that it's entirely there, but I think it's pretty close. So first is, you just got to know thyself. You got to know thyself. What I mean by that is, think about entrepreneur, the type of range of entrepreneur that you are. Are you self-employed? Are you like the next Jeff Bezos? I'm about 130 in that range. I build 10 to 250 person companies. That's me. That's the kind of range that I am. Well, that range is going to predicate and help you predict when it's probably time and the right time to get an integrator. Because if you're a 10 to 20 person entrepreneur, it might be better to hire some of the what EOS calls major functions first. Might be. Again, but you need to know thyself in that regard, because that's not the only factor. Because you might be hair on fire visionary and only ever be built for 25 people, right? Just because you're Jeff Bezos doesn't mean you're hair on fire. So you got to understand that range, but you also need to understand the growth trajectory of the company. And simply put, in ELA, we just say either you're growing like this, steady growth, or you're growing like this, exponential growth. So if you're exponentially growing, it might be healthier and smarter to pull that off, not just for the business, but for you, so you can not hurt yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, that kind of stuff. And of course, stay in your personal sweet spot. Like, I know for me, there's not a lick of integration in any bone or blood running around in me. And so anytime I'm starting a business, I have to start it with an integrator. Of course, that's how Gino started EOS Worldwide. He started it with Don. He started his business with an integrator. And so I think those factors have to be understood, which is understanding yourself as visionary. I think that helps you decide, is it 6 months? Is it now? Is it in 6 months? Is it 6 years?
Right.
I think those factors help. And I think those factors inform what I'm going to lobby back to you, which is the types of integrator. I think those inform you and the integrator that you're looking for.
Yeah, I appreciate the nuance that you're bringing to the conversation when it comes to what kind of business do you want to have, because I think I have a video from a couple of months ago of like, I think I was saying like, I think I asked the question like, does every business owner need a leadership team? And I sort of attacked it from that angle, but it was a similar concept, which is just that some people, to use your phraseology, are just too hair on fire. Like they're just like,
Yeah.
they're never, even with like they're never going to back up. Like they're just not wired that way. They're never going to be able to back up a process or a stage of growth with with an integrator or any other team members of like creating anything scalable. They're just too hair on fire. And that's fine. I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
That's like, like they can excel as as what I call a solopreneur with helpers, and like just go for it. They might be,
Well, I would
they can
rebut
get up
that.
to
I
five,
think
six
you can have
million
a
even.
hair on fire. I think you can hair on fire visionary and build $1 billion company. You can build anything you want as a hair on fire visionary. You just have to
Okay.
let go with deference and trust
Right.
to
Well, I guess
your
what I mean
integrator.
is that some people, I think at least in my experience, there's some people that are just not wired. Like no matter how much pain they're in and how much they
Oh,
sort of
yeah,
want
for sure.
to
No.
scale something,
So I
they're
believe if
just
you're
not
putting the
wired in a
love in
way.
the business, if you're truly open to your mentor, to your peer group, and to the operating system and the people you're operating that system with, if you're truly open and you're a hair on fire visionary, you got to put the fear down, because that is just a control issue. That's fear. They're not letting go because of fear. I've seen it, I feel like 100 times in the session room with entrepreneurs. So when I press that type of visionary, the reason you're experiencing that, at least in my opinion, is it's fear. And they've got to put the love in it. They got to open themselves up about what it is that they fear is not going to happen. Because when they fear that, then they produce a team that's yes men and yes women and won't confront him or her and have the crucial conversations. And so, but sometimes they're not ready. They just won't do it. But that's not our target. That's not our focus.
Right.
We're focused on entrepreneurs that are open-minded and abundance-minded
Right.
and want
Not
to
the
let go.
circuit, not
Yeah, I mean,
the
the crazy visionary
psychographic.
that won't let go, that's just all over the place, one word, run. Just run away. They got to figure it out. They're not ready. They're not ready. So
Yeah.
just want to, sorry to stop you there, but I just want to clarify that one.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There has to be, one of the things we talk about is there has to be enough pain.
Yeah.
Sometimes people could be ready at one stage, not ready at another stage
Yeah.
because there's enough pain. And sometimes it's not even about a change in the amount of pain. It's just a change that I've tired of experiencing it for the last 15 years. And so it's just the burnout
Man,
from the extended period
truth,
of
brother.
pain that makes me in enough pain.
I'll tell you something about the academy that I'm seeing that is really beautiful is we have these entrepreneurs that are stuck. They got 5 people, they're stuck. and they go, and they've been in business for a decade. I mean, they are just slammed in complexity and being overwhelmed and herding cats and fog of war and chaos. And they get into this academy, and all of a sudden they see their peers solving the issues of cash, hiring the integrator, pursuing their sweet spot, and they're like, "Oh my God, wait a minute, I gotta do that." And it gives them the confidence to do it, because again, the confidence issues, a lot of times they don't have the confidence because they're scared, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and that's okay to be scared. Dan Sullivan says the difference between being scared and courage is peeing your pants, and courage is just knowing what to do with wet pants. A lot of them don't know what to do with wet pants. I'm just being honest. I'm just looking at them going, hey, now you know what to do. Will you have the courage to do it? We're here for you. We're better together. And so that's part of what we are experiencing in the academy, is these entrepreneurs are getting unstuck, which is part of the dream. So
Yeah.
cool.
The scared, yeah. I've seen on the other side also. I had my first entrance into the entrepreneurial world was with a visionary who hired an EOS implementer, JBS, who you may know, and so he was my implementer for a few years.
He's
And
good. He's a good one.
because he had this much revenue, zero revenue when we started the process.
Wow.
He started the business, but it was pre-revenue, and the he was putting money into it, but he experienced that pain of not scaling before he even had revenue, because he knew that he wanted his first he wanted to grow fast. He wanted to go big. He knew his first major our first major marketing campaign was in the entire New York City subway system. After there's a little Google PPC at the beginning, but then the next one. So there was a very fast, like once we got going, there was a very fast growth trajectory we were setting up for. And he knew that, like, I don't know how to run a business like this. And I know how to do the thing that our business does, but if we don't, like, are the wheels are just gonna, like, the wheels and all the parts of the car are just gonna fly off once we start to get to speed. So we needed EOS, and he hired me and some other people, and like right off the bat. So there's different things that are required to, I guess, create the pain or create the ability to you know act decisively through fear, like you're talking about. And okay, so getting back to this integrator thing and where that fits into an early stage entrepreneur
Yeah.
is, okay. You're aware that the three types of integrator we've identified, and why do we identify three types? To restate it for those who haven't heard it yet, is based on pain, also of thinking that everyone talks about COO, integrator, number two leader, as like one type of thing. And then, like we talked about earlier, there's the individual compatibility and match and puzzle piece between the specific visionary or founder and the specific integrator or COO. And what we found was that it's like the individual compatibility is not enough to explain what's a right fit COO or integrator for a particular founder or stage of their business. And we would use the different types as sort of differentiators for ourselves versus maybe others, and just finding that was not fully a good explanation. And that I had a couple of engagements very early on myself where I would say, of the three types, I was an executive integrator. And the three types are operational, conductor, and executive. And I was an executive integrator. And looking back, I realized, why was there so much friction? Why was it not working as well as it could? Because they needed an operational integrator of those three types. It's not lower, it's not higher. It's about right fit versus wrong fit. I would, in those situations, I can humbly say from a few years ago, embarrassingly say that it was a wrong fit. And so, we recognize now there's different things needed at different stages of business. And so while there's also individual compatibility that's critical as well, we're just adding into the conversation these three types: operational, kind of like setting up and running operations, like really getting into the weeds of things,
Right.
maybe building that initial leadership team, or fixing up and building that initial leadership team, putting those people into place. Probably that's the kind that would be a good fit for a lot of the early stage entrepreneurs that are getting into the integrator world. And you get someone who's done it before, especially by fractional. But either way, whether it's full time or fractional, and then conductor is okay. You got a little bit of a leadership team in place. Maybe they're underperforming, but just starting to get right people into those right seats in the leadership team, and through them the rest of the business. Getting in, being that conductor of the orchestra, right? Ensuring that all the different parts of the business, as they're evolving and as we're pursuing big goals, are coordinated with each other, and there's handoffs, and processes are working, and handoffs are effective, and ensuring that everybody's playing off the same piece of sheet music. They're playing at the same tempo,
Mm-hmm.
and and that everyone's efforts are working. And then as executive integrator, which is the type that's really distinguished mostly by experience of of saying, like, it's like, I've built businesses up to 500, 1,000, 1,500 people before. You want to get from 20 million to 50 million on your way to 100. Well, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that before. I've done that before. So if you need somebody on your team who's like done it before, and elevating and escalating your leadership team and your effectiveness as a business, and skipping a lot of the mistakes because they've been where you want to go before, that person from the future, like you and Gino talked about,
Mm-hmm.
that's the executive. And I guess just with that preface, or that sort of like outline, I guess I would ask you, what do you see when working with the ELA, Entrepreneurial Leap Academy people? What do you see, or even in your EOS practice with the larger businesses? What do
Mm-hmm.
you see these, or where and how do you see these integrator types fitting in?
Well, first of all, if you're listening to this and you're looking for an integrator, what Ben said, you need to talk to this man. This guy's got it on a nuanced level that's really good. So I just listened to that. It was like a master class in understanding the nuance of integrator. It feels almost above my pay grade when you say that and then ask me that question. But when I think about what you're saying, when I receive these different types, my question is more, how could I not ask myself what is the right integrator for me? Like, so, it's the timing is actually the question. It's not should I consider an integrator. And so let me clear that one up.
Hmm.
The real question is timing. If you're a visionary, you're an entrepreneur, and you have a dream, you have a business to pursue. I mean, more than likely, unless you are the type that is a certain size and you are 1 in 20 that can be an integrator, and somehow you really like that, maybe it's 6 years out. But I think most entrepreneurs are not, because most entrepreneurs are not visionaries that also can be an integrator. And so it really is not 6 years. It's either, oh my gosh, it should have been 6 months ago, it should be right now, or in 6 months. So what three of those time frames would have you procrastinate and make that a long-term issue? Right? That's either a to do, an issue to solve now, a rock, or a long term issue to solve with rocks that set that up, using US terms. And so there's action orientation when I think about what you're saying for almost
Hmm.
every entrepreneur on the planet, which is to do what I was talking about, know thyself, and then go, well, where am I and what is the right fit? And they must engage with you. But if I just leveled it up before all of that, my response is, how could you not hire an integrator and understand when that's going to happen? Number one, what I see in the academy is when they go, oh my God, not hire an integrator? Eh? Not That's not the right question. The question is how could I not hire an integrator? So now that you know how could I not, you now are setting the stage for, I'm going to do this now, or I'm going to set a plan to do this, or on this date I'm going to have an integrator. I'm a great predictor. What I see with the entrepreneurs that do that, it brings a sense of levity to them. It brings a sense of clarity where they go, oh, I can see my life where I let go of the LMA of my team that's emerging. I let go of executing my business plan, whether that's a vision clarifier or a VTO. I can let go of thinking about how to make every single decision according to P&L, revenue, gross and net. I can let go of the day-to-day of the business and go and work on the business and actually truly be in charge and do thinking work. It's like, man, how could I not? And so once they get to that, how could I not? I just call it the 1-3-5. You hire one integrator. So you have somebody that handles the 5 rules, the 5 leadership abilities, and the 5 leadership practices with you. Your perfect person that does those 3 5s. You have somebody you 100% trust. You can be totally open and honest with. I mean, a lot of visionary entrepreneurs should not tell their emerging team or the leadership team their thinking and their thoughts, because some of them are not healthy and smart. They're toxic and they're stupid. And they need somebody to go, whoa, hold up. No, we're not doing that. Let's get on the same page. Let's go get in a room. Let's do a same page meeting. Let's talk about that, because we should not tell the team about that. The team is focused. They're executing in a 90-day world. That is not the thing to tell them right now. They need somebody that can, with love and respect, get on the same page and go, but I understand what you're saying. But I got it. I tell these entrepreneurs, like, what if you could have somebody own all the issues coming out of you and all the issues coming at you, all the ideas, all the problems, all the opportunities, all the obstacles, everything that you want to talk about. You could have one who for all the how. So there's just one integrator. Okay, then there's 3. So anytime you're looking to hire anybody, but if you're hiring an integrator, you're looking for return in time. You're looking for return in profit, and you're looking for return in growth. When it comes to time, you are an entrepreneur. Gino says the best way you can get paid is for your ideas. So you can exchange what Dan Sullivan calls, you're not getting paid for your time, you're getting paid for your entrepreneurial value. And you have value, and many times it's stifled and not integrated, not made whole, and you can let go and truly live in entrepreneurial value space, that's 10x. Then profit. You can pursue 10x ideas and opportunities and make profit with those. Because now you have a partner that can actually put those into a plan that's not super chaotic and hallucinogenic. It's traction, it's structure, and then growth, because it's grow or die. Like if you don't grow and let go, the business and you are going to die. So there's that. That's the Trinity, 3 things. And then you've got to convince yourself of the 5-to-1 ROI. And I think the 5-to-1 ROI is time to think. Thinking is the hardest work there is to do. Thinking, entrepreneur, hardest work there is to do. And you're in the business, messing things around, acting like you can run sales, can't run a CRM to save your life, chase shiny objects. Let go. Come on, go hire somebody and go do the thinking that this business requires to truly grow it. So then you actually have time to get on the same page with your integrators. You have time to think and, use a impact filter to actually explain what you're saying, so it's not just all thump to everybody. That's the work an entrepreneur is supposed to do. All right, I'll close this out. Then you have time. Now you can show up with 150 days in your life where you're in truly your unique ability, in your sweet spot, providing value. That's powerful. 65 days to buffer you, and 150 days to re-energize you, be free from work. Hire an integrator helps you do that. A lot of entrepreneurs want to do that, but they don't know how because they don't have an integrator. Time. Purpose. Well, now you're in 10x value, and you can join a collaborative community and work in this collaborative community like you and I are talking about. You have time to do that. Well, you now can have purpose to pursue this 10x, thing that you want to do. You can live that EOS life, maybe even live a little bit of life in the owner's box. Hey, entrepreneur, you got an owner's box. What's going on up there? You want to grow the business? There's life above the line. And then relationships with your collaborators, with your partners, with your team. There's a big relationship work. Most entrepreneurs are not doing the big relationship work in the company and outside the company. And so there's the 5-to-1 ROI. 5-to-1 ROI, 3 ways to think about it with one person. I mean, how could you not? So once you look at it from that perspective, hire an integrator is like the smartest and healthiest thing you could possibly do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate how you say it. You connected it to the 3 freedoms. I mean, that Dan Sullivan talks about as well, and the time management system. I guess the one thing that mentioned earlier before we kind of get to my last question, which is
Yeah.
how which is that 1 in 20
Mm.
entrepreneurs who can be
Yeah.
excellent as an integrator. And one of the things that I've seen is that I have come across some who
Yeah.
are pretty good.
Yeah.
They are pretty good at it. They're not
Mhm.
bad. Like there's some that are they just have
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can't
Sure.
like they
They
don't
think
have
they
the stick
can.
to
They can't.
itiveness.
Yeah.
They
Right.
don't have the follow through, and it's just it's chaos, chaos, chaos. But I've
Yeah.
seen a number that
Yeah. For sure.
that are able to stay focused, and they have ideas, they've got that entrepreneurial drive, but they also can drive focus and structure, and
Yeah.
they're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And but what I analogize that to is to somebody that's like driving a Ferrari down the
Yeah.
interstate with the handbrake on. Because yes, they can do it. They could do the ideas and the visionary, they can do the integrator piece, but what's their highest and best use? It's
You got
just
it.
it could do
Right.
it, but it's how much is it slowing you down? Like how
Right.
much is it if you had somebody that you could let go of the day to day, you could let go of managing the leadership team, let go of driving
Sure.
execution of the
Right.
business plan and of the core
Right.
business, at least on a primary basis, so that someone else is driving execution of that. How much more bandwidth, how much more mental, emotional, and spiritual bandwidth and brain
Yeah.
cells does that free up for you, and time does that free up for you to do things that would have, not that you're not effective in what you do, but that would
Yep.
have a exponentially greater effect and greater speed in what
That's
you
right.
could accomplish by focusing. I mean, if I just focused on those big relationships or that next new product or where the marketplace is going or my thought leadership or my
Yeah.
rah rah coaching with the sales team or with the rest of
Yeah.
like whatever it
Yeah.
is that your
For sure.
superpower is, everybody's different. Like
That's
if you're
right.
doing that, I mean, how many more millions would you make? How much more would you grow? How much more impact would you make of whatever your business is doing? Anyway, that's just kind of that handbrake on the interstate in the Ferrari. That's just what I think of when I think of that. Even a pretty good integrator slash
Yeah.
visionary communication.
Yeah. And so that's the ROI of money. Just that jumps out at me. I think you actually answered the question in what you did, of like, I just back to how could I not? But if we're thinking 5 to 1 ROI, let's just use the number that everybody thinks the scary number, the range, $200,000. Oh my God, it's an integrator, $200,000. Okay, but it's usually not that deep, but sometimes it is, depending on what you're looking for. Well, let's just use 200,000. So you go hire the perfect fit integrator for you. I don't care if you're the 1 in 20 visionary or a visionary, and I'll come back to the 1 in 20. But if you're going to hire an integrator for 200 grand, you must convince yourself that you can get $1 million back on an ROI. You must. Because if you don't, you're not really doing the work. You're not drilling into the real issues that you really want to give an integrator. And so you must go, if I'm going to invest, because look, if you're thinking about a seat, particularly an integrator, as a cost, you're totally screwed from the jump. You missed the point. Your inventors are missing the point. This is an investment. You're investing in a seat for somebody to perform a job that you don't want to do. It's not your highest and best use. It's not your unique ability. It's not what you love and are great at. And even the 1 in 20s, I've met some 1 in 20s, and I've never taken them to this place where I just laid all this out, and they went, you know what though? I still think I would love and be great at being the integrator. They go, oh, man,
Right.
light all that. Like, yeah, I should let this go. I've never, I mean, bring me somebody. I mean,
Yeah, that's my point.
Gino was
Right.
the integrator with his dad, and like, he's my business partner. I see him all the time. Can he do it? Yeah. Does it drive him crazy? I think so. I mean, I love, but I just see too many visionaries that can be 1 in 20 think I should do this. But once you get the context, all means kind of dependent, they go, oh, yeah, I should let this go. But if you can convince yourself, okay, I'm gonna pay this 200 grand, I'm gonna get $1 million. And what I most of the time see is they go, my God, Ryan, we did all that you just talked about. I could make $10 million, and all of a sudden they get really excited because they actually let go of the fear of taking themselves mentally and emotionally and physically and relationally to the future. This is the power of 10-year thinking. I want to see how are you going to get there healthy and smart, and you got to take yourself there. right? One of the 10 disciplines is take yourself with 10-year thinking, look at that 10-year target and go, what's the healthy and smartest path? How can I get my 10x results? Oh, I got to let go. It's not that I can't do that. It's actually not the healthiest and smartest thing for the business, let alone yourself.
Yeah.
So, that's just one guy's
Yeah. I
opinion,
can't
but
do what I need to do if I don't let go
yeah,
of that stuff. If I don't get the right person,
100%.
go of
Yeah,
that
that's
stuff
right.
too.
Yeah.
What advice would you give leaders, coaches who want to use ELEAP, who want to use the integrator types to have a
Yeah.
stronger, more aligned leadership team, like be more effective in their business? Like what message would you leave people when it comes to these early stage entrepreneurs and their use of the right integrator?
Hmm. It's a great question. Ask me it one more time. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking me.
What advice would you give leaders and coaches of these early stage entrepreneurs if they want to use an integrator? They want to use the right type integrator, the right integrator. What's a message that you would leave them to to understand about using an integrator?
Yeah, I feel like that's what we've been talking about for the last half an hour. So I'm going to
Yeah,
summarize.
maybe it's
Yeah.
like asking like,
Yeah.
what's the one point? And we could cut out a little. And I already
No,
made the
you're good.
reference to it, so we can we
No, you're
can we
good.
can cut out the pause if you want, and but
No, leave this all in. This is all good. That's a deep question. Um, I think it has to go back to if you are mentoring or coaching or helping an entrepreneur in the making or early stage entrepreneur or somebody that's out of the early stages has 10 to 250 and they don't have an integrator, I would say you got to enter the danger and just with all love and respect, have a conversation with that visionary and help them understand who they really are and what they really want. Because if they can understand who they are, know thyself, to thine self be true, and they can really get really clear about what they ultimately want, then you can help mentor and coach and navigate them there. But you can't mentor, coach, or navigate somebody that doesn't know themselves and doesn't know what they want. Because then you're gonna do, what does Chris Voss say? You're just gonna be telling them stuff. They're going, you're right. Oh, you're right. I know, you're right. And they're not receiving it because it hasn't come from you call it awakening and awareness. All progress starts by telling the truth. They gotta have the truth of that. So if they have that, then they're ready. And so help them know themselves and help them understand what they want. Hopefully that helps.
no, that is good stuff. The what where should people go who want to learn more about ELEAP Academy?
Yeah, for sure. So you can just go to e-leap.com and you can learn everything about how you can help entrepreneurs in the making and early stage entrepreneurs. If you are like, hey, I want to help, I want to join this collaborative community. So there's free tools that I referred to, whether it's the 1, 2, 3 roadmap or how to be a mentor, how to go do our talk. And if you're an entrepreneur in the making or early stage entrepreneur, just come on in. You can grab the ELEAP book. It's going to get you 95% of what you're looking for. Do the 1, 2, 3 biz match. Reach out to us. We want to know you. We're better together. We want to welcome you to the community. And man, if you take that leap, call Sean Fain. Sean would love to just talk to you and help you. And if it's the right fit, she'll let you know. She'll tell you the truth. And if it's not in the US, you're already ready for that, well, she'll send you there. And if you're not ready for the academy, she'll show you the tools to help you get ready. We're just here to help. That's our core value. Here to help.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I got to meet
All right.
Sean at the EOS conference a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I appreciate it. e-leap.com. If you're an entrepreneur in the making, if you're an early stage entrepreneur, check it out. Take advantage of the tools in the book there, e-leap.com. Of course, I'm Ben Wolf, wolfsedgeintegrators.com. And we appreciate you, Ryan. Thank you for making the
Appreciate
time
you.
to share important information for people that want to fulfill a dream.
That's great, brother. Appreciate you.
All righty, dighty do. Appreciate it, Ryan, and everybody else. We'll see you later. Thank you.